one of the big points that you just mentioned is having the financial ability to do so. What's that really look like? Because, there's people out there that say you could buy businesses with no money down. And a lot of people go down that road or try to go down that road. But what's the real deal? What kind of capital do you really need to be able to buy a business?
Well, you can buy a business with no money down, but you can toss the Lombardi trophy off of the back of a boat after you won a Super Bowl, right? You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. The difficulty in doing something like buying a business with no money down is so high that it's really speculative. And so it's not really, to my opinion, a business principle or plan. It's a speculative option. If you want to go buy a business, so the minimums, right? And that's not what gets things done, but the minimum to sort of be able to have a conversation through the SBA 7A loan program. If you buy $1 million business, you need to put at least 10% down. So $100,000 at the minimum will get you up to $1 million business. The reality is you need to have more money than that. You don't want to put every single dollar of your life savings into a single unit instrument that could fail. So, you're probably talking somewhere $250,000 to $1 million, depending on what your risk appetite is, to buy $1 million business. And then if you're talking about a $5 million business and 10%, now you're talking about a couple $1 million. And so I think there's two ways to answer that, Ty. So what you can do, there's a huge expansion in terms of younger career professionals, some straight out of business school, doing ETA, entrepreneurship through acquisition. A lot of the top business schools have these programs. And so oftentimes what you have to do is sort of partner with somebody else. And at that point, let's say I have, $100,000 and Ty has $400,000, then maybe we put our money together and one of us goes and buys the business and the other one is an equity partner in that business. So I think in that range. So I think if you're $250,000 to $500,000, I think you're in the game. Or if you can get your hands on that much cash equity. Now that's not the full purchase price, right? So the other piece is you need to go get debt. So if you want to buy $1 million business, you have your 100,000. Now you need to go get a $900,000 loan and think about your credit capacity and ability to go do that. So kind of a convoluted answer, but that's really the market for smaller deals, which what I would call $5 million and under.
Okay. So a lot of people out there might say you can get an SBA loan for 90%, or not a lot of people, but this is the kind of the idea is that you can get an SBA loan for 90%, and then you can use assets of the business or something else to get the other 10%. So you can use the account receivables to borrow against, you can use equipment or inventory or stocks, bonds, 401ks, IRAs to be able to borrow against to get the other 10%, or have the seller do a holdback or carry it the other 10%. Realistic?
Not really. Again, possible, yes. Realistic, no. So if a client came to me and said, hey, Elliot, I want you to get paid only if I close the deal. And what I want to do is go buy a business with no money down, because I'm gonna leverage the assets of the business to tell the bank that that's equity and hope that that works. So I'm gonna go figure out a way to do a seller holdback that they already know about, and they want your cash equity, but I'm gonna tell them that this seller holdback is actually cash equity. It's a bunch of stuff that could happen, but won't likely happen. So I'm an optimist and entrepreneur. So, right, I'm never going to tell somebody you can't. That's dumb. What I would say is the bank knows what equity is and what seller rollover is and what seller equity is, right? I would argue if you're leveraging your 401k, that is your cash. So it's the same as equity from my perspective. From a lender's perspective, it may be different, but you can liquidate those things to cash and then use them. I'm not saying that's a good idea, but I know people who have done it. The thing about leveraging the company's assets to buy the company, again, the seller knows he can leverage the company's assets to get money. So why is he going to give it to you for the same amount of money that he could leverage the assets for, or she could leverage the assets for? So some of the things that are these great whiteboard stories, back of the pub discussions, don't really fit all that well into the real world typically. Now, though, here's some exceptions. You buy a business from your dad's best friend, you can do a lot of things. You buy a business from your parents, from somebody at the country club with you, from somebody from your fraternity, somebody who knows you, loves you, you can do a bunch of things. I mean, you could also get a 100% seller note, complete earnout. And some businesses sell that way. So professional services firms like CPA firms and other firms like that, depending on how steady their revenues, sometimes they sell in an earn-out structure. But again, we're talking about the 1%, the 3% of deals, not the lion's share.